All right, so far you've heard all things that go well. Now you're going to hear stuff that doesn't go so well. This February, we had an issue with some of our paint, and it started in the Portland area. So I said, all right, let's bring this to the partnership, because I'm sure you all have lead paint out there, and things can go wrong. And I thought I was doing something pretty good, and then Dave from Connecticut's going to put me to shame, because he's got far bigger issue than I do. All right, so we got a call from Public Works in the city of Portland, and they got this funky little app, See It, Fix It. All right, okay. So we get that, and they say, you have your paint all over the floor, all over the ground. And we're like, yeah, okay, yeah, whatever. All right, have another one. So, but we do have to do our due diligence and check it out, because some things may happen. So our region bridge manager, who knows a little bit about bridges, calls back and said, yeah, it's raining paint chips. All right, so he got into the sauce a little early that day, is what I was thinking. So our superintendent of operation goes out, and he goes, Houston, we have a problem. And I trust Joe. Not that I don't trust the other guys, but I trust Joe. All right, and here we are. We had some paint failure on our bridges. You know, we typically don't have our bridges look like that, but it did that day. All right, and that's not the big problem. The big problem is, you know, on the ground. You know, it looked like New York City the day after Dick Clark's Rockin' New Year's. It was just confetti all over the place, you know, and, you know, there's snow, it's slush, it's nasty, and that's not even the worst part. Before you saw here, you know, there was homeless encampments all there. So it was all over them, and the worst part is they were pissed because we asked them to leave so we could clean this up. Like, they were rude. It's like, oh my goodness, man, we're trying to help you out. You know, lead is dangerous. You know, you might have a third ear sticking out after you. But we had to do it because, you know, it's the right thing to do. And it was everywhere. You know, it was on the banking and whatnot. And this is down in Portland. So we're like, all right, is this an isolated case? Hey, let's look at the next one up down the road. Yep, happened there too. All right. All right, so the chief engineers brings me down. I go to the principal's office, and, okay, why'd this happen? I don't know, it's the first time it's happened to me. I mean, we've seen lead paint on the ground with inspections, you know, over time it gets there. And, you know, I gave my theories of, hey, paint's 60 years old. It's not going to stay on there forever. It gets brittle and so forth. So, but she sent a APB out to all of her counterparts, and Louisiana DOT came back, and they had a similar incident in 2019. So that was, and they overcoated their lead paint systems, and they felt that peeling paint exacerbated, and that's a quote, I do not use that word, by extreme temperature changes. So here's the temperatures we saw. Good, you guys can see that. All right. On Friday morning, I don't know why they chose 12:51, but at 12:51, it was a little over 30 degrees. And then 25 hours later, all right, there was a 45-degree drop in temperature. All right. There's a saying in Maine, if you don't like the weather, just wait a minute, it'll change. Even that's tough for our standards. All right, so over the next 37 hours, yeah, you got backed up to nice. It pumped up 56 degrees in those 37 hours. All right, so it dropped 45. Another day and a half later, it's up 50. All right, so that just messed things up. So, you know, our original hypotheses, because it was in Portland, is it something to do with the salt air? And I'm like, no, we all have all kinds of bridges around the state. Is it because it's cold? Well, it's been cold for the 60 years that this has been in existence. You know, it's that change, that sudden change, put a shock to the system, and it's 50 and 60-year-old brittle paint. You know, that just happens. What do we do now? Well, you know, you got to clean up your mess. We've been told that since we were kids, so we have to do that. We've got to make sure it doesn't continue. Are there any more? I mean, we knew of 4 or 5 right there in Portland, but how about the rest of the state? And we need to protect our steel, you know. So we contacted all of our bridge managers. We have 5 regions throughout the state. We contacted them. We said, stop what you're doing. Go out there and check and see what's going on. Is this an isolated case? Help us out here. Well, they don't listen very well. They did it, but we don't have bridge crews anymore in Maine. I can't say too much because it's going to be on YouTube. So the next day it snowed, so we got to stop doing that. We got to go plow the snow. We only have so many people to get the things plowed, so we didn't do a good effort as we could have in the initial there. So, but we still had to clean up our mess. Thank you. Whoops, I think I went too far. I didn't. All right, so there we are cleaning it up. You know, we had to hire somebody. You know, this is not something that we do. We could have done it. We could put all of our suits on, like the radiation suits and Dr. No, and going around so we didn't get all damaged, but they swept it up inside the cab. You know, there we are with a vacuum. You do see the people in the front truck all suited up, you know, with the hazmat stuff. And we throw it in this container here and ship it off to Canada. All right, we don't do that on purpose, but that just happens to be where it is. You know, they're our neighbors. We got to play well with them. And you know, I was hearing a truckload like that's going to cost, I don't know, $10,000 a piece, if not more. I did try to get better prices, but the bill hasn't come in yet, which is probably good. All right, but the first few days that they were doing this, they went to the next bridge, and then they came back just to make sure everything was all cleaned up, and the paint was still falling off. It was on the bridge, just flaking, and the wind would knock it off, so they had to go back and do it again. So we had the crews, transportation workers, go out there and scrape it off with scrapers the best they can. Anything that was loose, they had to go out there, scrape it, and after they were done, there they are, fun, fun, fun. And now, even though it didn't get down to minus 20, it's still 10 degrees there. That's not fun work that we put our guys through. Then we had to spray it with fluid film. Those of you familiar with fluid film, you go underneath your truck, you spray it so the chlorides don't get it. Well, we put that on our beam ends and bearings once in a while because we talked to our paint person down the bridge program. He said, yeah, not a problem, take it right off. Well, we'll tell you in a minute, it's not that easy. But it was more to just make people happy that we were doing something. All right, so once we stopped plowing, we went out again, and we found more in our inventory. All right, we found a bunch up and down the state, the interstate, but we had to evaluate the extent. Like I said, with our inspections, we've been seeing it for years. The paint's been falling off slowly. We've been trying to catch up, but we didn't do much painting in the 90s. That kind of shafted us here because we have so much out there. And we had to prove to our environmental guy that was leading our effort, he was all happy, he had stuff to do now. We had to get him under control because any paint chip on the ground, he was like, bring people in, let's go. No, relax here. bridge had been missing paint there for years. It wasn't part of this phenomena. Let's keep it controlled to this. So it wasn't just in Portland. There was another place throughout the state. You know, here's one bridge, Westport Island. Okay, island means a lot of water around it. This is, you know, an inlet stream to river to an ocean. Okay, that's the inspection prior to. You can see there's some paint loss. It's getting older. Okay, this is what it looks like afterwards. All right, where's that going? All right, it's going in the clam flats right down the street. You know, what are we going to do? I mean, I can't do anything anymore. You know, and here, it's not on the road anymore down below. All right, we don't have homeless encampments here, but that's tough terrain there. Yeah, we threw it out in the woods too. You know, down over the bank. You know, like how are we going to clean this up? People are asking me. I'm like, well, I said don't, but that didn't. I got a lot fewer laughs than I did right there. So we had to do this, but they went out there, and this one, we told them, listen, we're not scraping this one. That bridge is just too darn big, too difficult. We are going to fast track a paint project, which I'll talk in a minute. And we also found one in Columbia Falls, you know, and there are other ones, but these are the bigger ones. All right, you can see this funky little design. That was pretty consistent with what we were seeing out there. So, yeah, here's some of our inspectors. I guess, hey guys, lead paint, wear a glove or something. But he didn't care. I don't know if he didn't have much for lunch that day or something. All right, so we did fast track some capital paint projects. We knew we couldn't leave these out there, so we put some paint bundles together. That's the only thing that's coming in on or under budget so far in the capital world is our paints. So we put together two bundles, one at $1.5 million, the other at $3 million. And we also put that Westport out there at $1.3 million. And those are all being painted full, scraped down to bare metal and repainted this year, so remove the issue. We did more prioritize some of these in our capital program. You know, we're trying to chip away at it, but because of we don't want this lead paint issue to happen again, we are giving it a little more precedence there. So yeah, we did have some fluid film issues. We knew it was going to happen. We can blame it on Joe. You know, I don't know if they put it in the contract. I asked them what we were going to be done to let the contractor know. But fluid film, you know, it's going to gum up the classifier because the shot that they remove the paint will gum that all up. So we'll probably have to pay some damages there. But hey, it is what it is. All right, one of the good things about this partnership is the networking. Okay, the week after we started this whole thing, I get an email from Connecticut, Dave Hiscox, and he's like, hey, has anybody seen this? So I was like, oh, yeah, I gotta get back to him. So I'm in a meeting on the phone, and I'm bad with the phone and texting and trying to do emails. So I henpecked something out and said, yeah, we've seen this, we've done that. So we get some communication just so he was aware. So Dave shared with me some photos here, so I'll show you what they're going through there. Some very similar, just to the next level. Okay, they identified 268 bridges. And if I'm wrong, just say, hey, dummy, you're wrong. Half of them in District 1, and where's District 1? Central Hartford area. All right, so there's a few people in Central Hartford area. But it looked like they rated these based on the amount of failure, and 36 were deemed severe. So that's probably a lot of paint loss or a lot of confetti all over the ground. Okay, here's a photo that he sent. Same thing, you know, just paint exploded off. You know, that's what ours looked like too before we get out there with a scraper and scraped it all off. We didn't have 268, thank goodness. You know, there they are. They had the same confetti chips all over the ground there. Not a fun situation. We were lucky and had deep water, so we just left it. I'm not sure what you're going to do here, and talk to Dave in the session next. But they do have a plan, which is really good. So far, they completed 67 of them and have paid $13.5 million just in cleanup and remediation type thing. Did you send them to Canada? They probably sent them to Maine. But they estimate the total cost of all their cleanup is going to be $80.6 million. Okay, that's a real number. That starts to hurt. And they hope to complete in fall. And you know, that $80.6 million is, you're not any better with the inventory than when you started. That is just to you're keeping that same baseline. It's like when somebody hits your bridge. You spend so much, but your base inventory is just before you started. So these are some real numbers. You know, just be aware of your paint systems out there, lead paint. Hopefully we don't have the temperature fluctuations like we did on that weekend, but are there any questions?